Tell us about a failure you encountered in your professional life and how you turned a setback into a comeback. I'm sure you had a lot of successes, so I thought like we'll switch to a failure, and then you can talk about the success as well.
So interestingly, as I mentioned, the biggest failure for me in my professional career was when I started out. So you can imagine, as a college student who's gone back home after graduating, looking forward to her first job ever. And then she comes back to London to start working with Lehman Brothers. And then it just goes. In a week, the job's gone. So it was due to none of my doing, but it was just a global credit crisis. So I think that was something that did shake me up, but it also taught me, how to deal with that failure right at the outset of my career. I knew that I didn't want to already come back to Calcutta to the family business because I wanted to sort of, it was a really challenging time because, 4 months being jobless and living in London is not easy. So I did all sorts of, really odd jobs, part-time jobs, odd jobs, such as even bartending, even things like selling softy ice cream on the streets of London, which is something I fancied, as a kid each time I went to London, and doing really odd jobs at supermarkets and things like that. And that's how I made my buck to, survive those 4 months living and paying my rent in London. And after that, I love saying this story actually. So it was the last place I had my final assessment with, which is with Barclays Capital in February. And my parents had sort of put their foot down because they thought that, I've probably gone crazy. It's been like 4 months and what am I doing in London without a job? And it was my last interview. And this is the interview I went for completely unprepared, where it was like, we'll see what happens. I've already gone through some 100, 150 interviews, been rejected, left, right, center. After reaching the final stage of a lot of, banks and management consulting firms, etc. And I was on a call with my mom, when she was like, I hope you're all packed because, your flight tickets are booked to fly back tomorrow. And at the same time, I get a call from Barclays offering me the job. So I think for me, that was amazing because it was right at the start of my career. And, having worked for 2 years at Barclays, I discovered that that experience was amazing, but I also discovered that banking was not me. And I was somebody who was more creative and more entrepreneurial. And there was so much more I could do if I came back to India and I grew the family business. So that's the failure part of it. And coming to the success part of it, I would say that since I joined the family business, I had the plastics vertical here. One of the few projects I did when I joined was our steel fittings exports business. We were exporting to the US and Canada at the time I joined. So I took up the challenge of diversifying that portfolio geographically and opened up a new market in the Middle East and Germany, which took a long time, which took 4 years to do because it's not easy to acquire new customers. So that was one. And besides that, I also found that, coming back to India, and working in a family business, which is a legacy, traditional family business, you can't change things overnight. So, there's a lot of learning. And what Shweta said, like, I came back to a hardcore, male-dominated environment. And, this young girl comes in who wants to change things overnight and make everything extremely process-driven, system-driven. So you have to sort of, go slowly. You can't change people overnight. You can't change the way things work overnight. Culture can't change overnight. So these are some learnings that, came along the way. And in 2016, which is 4 years ago, I launched the sustainability vertical in the company, which is called Embracing Green, which is what I won the FBN award for. And it makes me super happy to share about that. And just to briefly mention, what I do here is rainwater harvesting and also a project which is called Water on Wheels, which I'll talk, as we go along.
Super. We look forward to hear more on your projects.